What's my camera's doing weird things. I might have just taken a photo, which doesn't last very long. Okay, but the second quiz question, last week's quiz question, was if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? And that's famous. Did I showed you the limerick that's associated with that? Yes, I think. You remember the limerick?
I wasn't here that day.
Oh, you weren't here that day. Barclay. I don't know if that's how you spell limerick. Barclay limerick. It's funny how it got in the quad. What?
I think this happened last time too. You had to go to a different one.
Could be. But here's the limerick associated with this. There was a young man who said, God must find it exceedingly odd to think that the tree should continue to be when there's no one about in the quad. Reply, and I always try to do this in a deeper voice because God obviously is at least a baritone. Cultural thing. I don't want to get into that. That's a squirrel. Dear sir, your astonishment's odd. I am always about in the quad, and that's why the tree will continue to be, since observed by yours faithfully, God. So, the thing is with Bishop Barclay, who, yes, Barclay College, if it's a Barclay College, it's named in his honor, because he was the first person to try to found a college in the New World, even though he didn't succeed. He did at least bring his books that he was going to use to found a library for the college that he was going to found, and he left them, and half of them went to Harvard, half went to Yale. But so he's honored at multiple places. The Berkeley College is not the Berkeley campus in California. But in any case, his most famous statement in describing his philosophy is esse is percipi, which is odd because this actually has the Latin est, esse est percipi, which is fully Latin. My version of it, which is the more popular that I've heard, is esse is percipi, which is just really a hodgepodge of English and Latin, because esse means to be, and percipi is to be perceived. Passive voice. To be is to be perceived. In other words, everything that exists because a mind perceives it. And so Bishop Barclay is considered to be an idealist. But it's also kind of strange because for him, the mind of God is actually all of the energy that pervades our space, our awareness. Let me go here. Let me stop that share, and let me start a different share. So I already have my I'll go here, but let me see if I could find where. Sorry, this is confusing. There we go. Barclay's idealism. I was close. I was pretty darn close. So Barclay, as an idealist, gives us the idea that there's spirit, and matter does not exist independently of perception. So you don't have, This is ChatGPT. You could just ask ChatGPT. I'd be curious if you get the same answer, or if they're playing with me and just giving me the answer that I obviously want, and they'll give you a different answer. That would be neat to find out. But he denies the existence of a material world separate from our minds. But there is, and that is because God's mind is literally his explanation for why the tree continues to be in the quad, or why this room was still here over the weekend even though it was dark and no one was here. God's perceiving it. It's his answer. That's obviously not completely what he's thinking. He's using the concept of God in a very different sense. He's using it really more in the theological sense than the sense that people mean when they're talking about going to church and stuff, and they're learning God, will punish you if you wear a kilt. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Did we do the ontological argument here?
Yeah.
Right? Remember, by the definition of God as that than which nothing greater can be thought, you end up with the idea that God must exist, number one, because otherwise something else exists that's greater than God, but by definition God is that than which nothing greater can be thought. But you have to divorce yourself from the idea that there are plenty of other characteristics that are involved in describing God than just that than which nothing greater can be thought, because that's not part of the argument. It doesn't mean that God has lightning bolts, in a case that he can throw at people. That's not the God the ontological argument's concerned with. You're the God of my idolatry, says Juliet to Romeo. No, that's not at all. Basically, the universe. If you can't conceive of anything greater than the universe must be God. And that is what Berkeley's calling God. That than which nothing greater can be thought. So basically, that would be the contemporary version of the universe, as far as I understand it, or multiverse. So basically what Berkeley is actually saying is that everything is energy, not matter. The idea that matter exists as something concrete, God created it, and now it's ticking along like a clock, perfect clock, so God doesn't have to come in and oil it every once in a while, set the time because, it's now, summer, what's it called, time, summer something time. How we change the clocks every once in a while. Daylight savings time, whatever that is. God doesn't have to change the clock. So basically, the universe is fine without God. Therefore, you don't have to believe in God anymore because God has nothing to do with this, right? That's Berkeley's concern. But so he changes it and says the universe is God. And what he means, of course, is that, but it's not matter. It's kind of spirit, energy, which is, So I asked ChatGPT, is his division between matter and spirit, and the same thing with Leibniz, is that the same thing as what we say today is mass and energy? So that mass is energy in an arrangement, right? So that there's, of course, E equals mc squared. There's a connection, right? Linguistically, how does this make things even more difficult for us? Because if we follow Hume's principle, which is basically There has to be a one-to-one correspondence between the things we're talking about and the things that exist. So for me to say this cup, or you pick something, there has to be a one-to-one correspondence between the word that I'm speaking and the object itself. So there's a correspondence. So this is correspondence theory of truth, problem for the epistemology of British empiricists. Because when you're a British empiricist, you believe that because you're seeing things and hearing things, etc., through your senses, you're never actually seeing the object itself, a priori, right? You can't, because, well, we're only actually mental beings thinking of the interaction in my mind between the different conceptions that I've perceived from previous perceptions and ideas that are not even perceptions but abstract conceptions that I learned through discourse with others, and so on and so forth. Well, if that's the case, you cannot actually ever have a correspondence because you can never actually see the real thing itself. Having machines, if I use an electron microscope, I can now see the brain of a fruit fly. I don't know if you saw that recently. They released images of the brain, the wiring of a fruit fly, including where different memories, the visual memories, etc., are all located and so on. Absolutely fantastic. Useless. I'm never going to own fruit flies and try to train them. Hey, repeat after me. A, B, C. They don't live long enough. What? A day? No point in teaching them the alphabet. Nobody's laughing. Shoot. I need new material. That's pretty clear. No, I can't tell a Jewish joke. That would be inappropriate. Even though I heard a really good one recently. Should I tell it? Yeah? I should? Okay. An old rabbi was asked, when is Hitler going to die? This is obviously when Hitler was still alive. And the rabbi said, Hitler will die on a Jewish holiday. And they said, which holiday? And he said, any day that Hitler dies will be a Jewish holiday.
Nice. Yeah, that wasn't bad.
That's just... By the way, the first people that Hitler had arrested were his political enemies. Yeah. Oh, well, in any case, how did I get there? Jeez. But in any case, so there's a one-to-one correspondence, according to you. So that's what makes a statement true, is that, snow is white, if and only if snow is white. The statement snow is white is true only if snow is white. And that is referred to as shoot. I need this to actually work properly for me to get to the right page here. That is referred to as the semantic conception of truth, or Tarski's truth definition. T sentences, true sentences. So, the problem is if you can't refer to objects, because theoretically either you accept Berkeley's definition of God as the universe and everything is spiritual or energy, objects turn out to be what they are because we expect them to be that through our socially defined conception of the world, our worldview, right? And thanks to our worldview, we end up with a language, number one. Although you could be a